I'm Shy Silverleaf and welcome back to another series. This time we are going to cover working short rows in Tunisian. This is a left edge wedge short row, which is fatter at the left edge than the right, hence left edge wedge. And this is a right edge wedge, fatter at the right edge than it is at the left, and we will subsequently combine them together to make the dart that goes over the bust wherever you need it. Need that extra fabric. We're going to do it both flat, and I will show you how to work darts in the round as well, where it gives this nice little lip that dips up. That'd be fun for a top or something like that. I apologize for the noise in the background. That'd be my washing machine. I gotta clean clothes sometime, right? Right. Let's get started. Alright, first we are going to tackle the right edge wedge. Now this is a little more simpler than its mirror. There you are. The left edge wedge. Now in some aspects the right edge wedge is similar to the crocheted wedge, sorry about that, and that, like the crocheted short row, what you do, helps if I actually have this going in the right direction, is you go up to the spot where you want your short row to be. Okay, and we'll do another one for good measure. Okay, go right up to the spot where you want it to be, and you don't do anything. You just stop short. That is pretty much one of the few ways that the two are similar. With the crochet, however, you slip stitch as a method of traveling only. Oh, come on, you. Whoop. Back to your next, we're going to say right here, short row is going to be. Is that correct? Yeah. And then once you're done, this is where they differ. Okay? When you're done with the crochet, you very simply go across the tops of all of them, and that I believe is where. Okay, this one I'm going over top of into the single crochet underneath the slip stitch, pretending like the slip stitch is not there. I'm just going over top of it as I travel downward to kind of hide them. With taller stitches, you'd want to go like single crochet, double crochet. If you had doing this in double crochet, you'd want to go double crochet, half double, single, something like that. Look around, there's lots and lots of experts on this subject who would be happy to instruct you. There we are. And I'm just going across the tops of everything in this. With Tunisian, when we do our final final forward pass going across to everything, we will have to do a couple little additional things to help hide any gaps that happen. Positioning is more important in short row Tunisian than it is in let's say just a solid single crochet like that. This is where we put our short rows, but really there's no holes to speak of for us to deal with, but we will have to deal with that in Tunisian. And allow me to show you. We start out same as we always do. slip knot, stick it on the hook, chain however many you need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm just going to do 20. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There we go. Now in the second chain from the hook, back ridge, I'm going to pick up all my loops. This is my foundation, beg your pardon, my foundation row that doesn't count. In this particular instance, I don't think I would start short rowing. I like to have one solid row of Tunisian, not including the foundation row, before I start in on actually doing my short rows, just so that I have a more solid base to work in. And yes, my nails this time are little short rows. Thought it would be fun. My thumbs, when I originally started to record this mess, was in the winter, so I thought it'd be fun to put on my thumbs a little sled going down this one and a little fallen rider half buried in the snow. But I couldn't keep repeating that intricate detail over and over again with how many times I have to strip and redo my nails to complete this very long series. So I just have little snowy hills on my thumbs in the middle of summer. It's a thought to keep you cool. Okay, all the way down. So we're doing our, stop that. Normal. Now I am assuming you know how to do this by now. The next series I'm planning on doing is Back to Basics. I have had a request for it, and I have not forgotten. So if you don't quite understand this just yet, just hang in there. Alright, going to work a salvage stitch in our end one, yarn over, pull through 1, return pass is yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. I said 2, not 3. All the way back again. My yarn is very crinkled, poor cotton yarn, because of how many times I've had to redo the various videos using the same yarn over and over again. I'll retire it eventually. Okay, and it's okay that it's curving. We'll start it out. Okay, so that's our foundation. I'm going to do simple stitch since we're just working this plain. Sorry about the taps. It's the hazard of working over a table. Usually I'm sitting on the couch, pop in a movie I can half ignore, and go to it. Get that out of the way. So all the way across, and next row we are going to start in on our short rows. So bear with me just a little longer. Okay, and salvage edge is a normal salvage edge. If it'll let me, there's the other side of the V. There we go. Come on. Okay, return pass back. Don't let your yarn add to your tension. I'm sorry this is taking so long. I ran into some unexpected problems and some inconsistencies, and yeah, it's just been a royal rhubarb of a circus trying to do this series. I'm looking forward to doing Back to Basics now, so I hopefully can crank that out. with little to no problems. Okay, so we've done our foundation and our first row. Now we're going to start in on the short rows. You're going to work in your simple stitch, and we will cover texture sticks. We will cover textured stitches, tongue twister once again, in our next video. So hang in there. We're going now back to this one. We're going to simple stitch all the way up to the point that we need to put our short rows. With Tunisian, I would not recommend putting them side by side, you know, one here and then one here, because no matter what I did, I couldn't close the gap that was caused from these two stitches. They need to be at least one stitch apart, like one here and one here. Play around with this by all means. If you find differently, I would love to know. Okay, I'm only going to put 3 in this particular one. If my yarn will cooperate. Poor yarn, seen better days. Come on, you. There we go. All right. You can put it as close to the end as you wish. Test that out, see how it goes. Yeah, you can put it as, pretty sure you can put it as close to the end as you wish. You're going to treat this one as a salvage edge. I'm going to call it a short row salvage edge. Okay, so yarn over, pull through one, and then return pass all the way back as normal. Okay, just like crochet, you just stop short. The peculiarities will come when we pick up all our short rows in the final return pass over top. Okay, so here is our first short row all the way over here, and you just continue that, just stopping short wherever you need it along the way, be it 1, 2, 12, 20. Wow, that would create quite a wedge if you did that many. But if you're working in teeny tiny yarn, you may need that many. Now I'm going to put, hold on, I forgot one more thing. You need to mark where you put your short row. Very, very important, so you don't lose track of how many and how far apart they happen to be. Almost forgot that. Okay, and you know what, we're actually working, yeah, we'll leave it at orange. And just for demonstration purposes, I'd say that looks good. So I'm going to mark this one just right in that vertical bar of the stitch is where I'm putting it. We're doing a short row salvage edge right here, because we can't just leave it the way it is. Got to do something with it, right? Right. All the way back to the first stitch, and I'm going to do 4 just for giggles. Just for giggles. Okay. Now this one I'm actually going to put here where it's 1 stitch away, so you can see what that looks like. And the 4th one, to show you what I mean, I'm going to put it right beside the 3rd one, so you can see what kind of gap happens for yourselves. And you can put a short row right here if you need. Okay, one more. Okay, now there's 1 stitch in between these two, so we'll be able to deal with that when the time comes. We need to do a short row salvage edge, and then return pass back as normal. Now this time I'm going to make the mistake of putting it right here so you can see for yourselves. Why it's, I don't feel it's such a good idea. You may feel differently. You may not mind. That is you. As I said, find what works for you and go with it. Okay, and side by side, I'm going to take our last one, put it in, and shut it. Okay, short row, selvage edge, and return pass back. Now with our crochet piece, when we came to this part where we're ready to pick up every single stitch all along the way, we were able to just go across everything. When we came to the stitch that had the slip stitch in it, we just went over both, is what was happening there, in case you didn't see it. This is where it differs. We've got to do something a little special. What makes it different is it tends to gap over on this side. Oh, here, let me get it. It tends to gap over on this side. So we do need to deal with that little bit of gap. And that's primarily what's taken so long, is trying to refigure out how to do that gap. So let's go ahead and pick up our stitches until we come to the short row selvage edge. And I'll show you the method that I found that works for this right edge wedge. Okay, now here we've come to our short row that we're ready to pick up. Instead of treating it as a selvage edge and going through the side V, you're going to go through the front vertical bar only. For starters, treating it as a normal simple stitch with texture. Well, we'll cover texture when we get there. Now, in order to close the gap here, what I did is, here's the return pass from the previous short row that we did. I am going to go, let me pick this apart, okay? You see how you've got two that kind of form an X. Okay, if you look just underneath them, come here, you're better. Just underneath them, you will find a third piece of yarn from that return pass that goes underneath the two X's that you see. Let's say my middle finger, my apologies, right here. You're going to go under the two X's and above that third yarn that goes straight in order to get what you need. See, here's the two that make the X, and then here is that third. See, 1, 2, and here's the third. Okay, you're going in between there, yarn over, pull up a loop. Okay, this is when I move my stitch marker from here up to the loop I just picked up. Because what we're going to do is we're going to do the same beside every single short row that we have done. Okay, and when we do our return pass back, we'll put them together, and then the next forward pass, we're going to ignore those and pretend they're absolutely not there. Okay, sounds complicated, but I'm here to walk you through it. Okay, now if you'll remember, number 4 and number 3 are side by side. Okay, so here is the short row selvage edge of number 3. We're going to go through the front vertical bar only, since we are doing a simple stitch. Okay, and then looking right beside it, it's in between the short row stitch and the one next to it. Okay, this is correct. Remember, we deliberately messed this up so that you could see why you don't want to put them side by side. Okay, here's the return pass right here in between them. You may have to kind of push it up to get it to stop folding over. Here's the two that crisscross on top, and here is the third one just underneath. See, there's the third one, and here's the two that crisscross, and that's where you want to put your hook, is in between the two crisscross and the third one. You don't want to disturb the crisscross. Yarn over, pull up a loop, move your stitch marker to the additional loop. And this might not be too bad for kind of a semi-invisible increase. Anyways, okay, so we've moved our marker up. Now here's the stitch next to it that we are going to pick up as a normal simple. Okay, we don't want to lose any of the stitches in the process, so go very slow to begin with. Here is number 2. Here is the short row salvage edge for number 2. This is the vertical bar that I've got my thumb. See, there's the sideways V that you normally do. We're just doing the vertical bar. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Now we need our special additional loop on the hook. So look between your marker and the next stitch. Here's the return pass. There's the little X on top. There's the third one. You're going to go in between the X and that third yarn, that little third horizontal one, and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, and see, I'm pulling up the X, and there's the third. Okay, move your stitch marker up. Alright, here's our next one that we have not done yet. You can see the loop coming out. If you ever get confused, look very carefully. You have this lines up with your simple stitch. This doesn't seem to line up with anything. Look at the next simple stitch, and that's where your hook needs to go. Try not to stick your hook in your stitch markers. I've done that a couple of times now. It's a little annoying. Now we're going to do a regular simple stitch until we come to our last short row marker. Okay, once again, here is the short row salvage stitch. We're going to go just in the front, just like that. We're going to look. Here's the last stitch. Here's the return pass. There's the little crisscross X. Here is the horizontal bar of the return pass. I'm going to shove that out of the way. Let's see, crisscross. There it is. You'll see I pulled 2 of them forward because it was trying to go in between the crisscross. You want to push the crisscross forward, and you want to go over that last horizontal bar of the return pass, okay? I'm going to move our stitch marker up, and that is all our short rows picked up. Now we come back to the original salvage edge. We need to treat this as an original salvage edge. So we are going to go, here is the side V, that's where we're going to go. It's going to take a little finagling. There we go. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 1. Okay. Now comes the fun part. When we return pass back, each one of our extra loops needs to be paired together with the stitch it belongs, the one after it, since we're going in this direction, we're going to the right. So instead of yarn over, since we have this one here, instead of yarn over, pull through 2 loops, we're yarning over and pulling through 3 loops, just like that. Okay, that pairs our odd stitch, odd short row stitch, ooh, I like that, odd short row stitch with our regular simple stitch, okay? Now we go back to yarn over, pull through 2 until we get to the next stitch marker, and you really got to pay attention, otherwise you'll end up with extra stitches and a little bit of a mess. Okay, now we have our odd short row loop. We need to pair it with the one next to it, the one after it. Remember, we're going to the right. So yarn over, pull through 3. Beg your pardon. Now we put 1 in between these 2, so we need to do a yarn over, pull through 2. The odd loop will always come before the one it's paired next to. Okay, so now we've got the odd short row loop. We need to pair it with the one after it, so yarn over, pull through 3, last one, odd short row loop, pair it with the one after, yarn over, pull through 3. We're done with the short rows, so now we go back to yarn over, pull through 2. I strongly recommend that you go nice and slowly over those so that you don't get mixed up. Now you'll notice that I have left my markers there, even though I am totally done picking up the short rows. That's because we're not completely finished with our odd loops. We need to go back, we need to pick up just the stitches themselves. We're going to ignore our little odd loops. So let me show you. I'm going to pick up until we come to a marker. Okay. I like leaving these in until I'm several rows away from my short row. That way I don't get them mixed up, because if I had taken them out, I would accidentally pick them up and once again end up with too many stitches. Okay, we've come to the stitch before our short row. I'm going to ignore this, grab the stitch before it, as normal, pretend it's not there. Here is the vertical bar of the stitch next to it. We're going to grab that one. Okay, ignore this once again and go to the stitch next to it. If you're in doubt, take a look underneath. Okay, with Simple, it's drawing a nice straight little line from the top to the bottom, but you look at the odd and there's no straight little line going down. So we ignore that, go to the next stitch, pick it up, go to the next stitch, pick it up, ignore that, go to the next stitch. Remember, you're looking for the straight line going down. Okay, keep going until we hit the last one. Nice and slow on this row again. Okay, all the way till we come to the last one. I'm going to pick up the stitch in front of it, going to ignore it, and we're going to pick up our selvage edge as a normal selvage edge. Okay, yarn over, pull through one, and we are going to return pass back as normal all the way back. And I'm going to do another row. All the way back so you can better see what's going on. Come on, you. The previous with our short rows. Okay, now I just keep going. You'll notice that as I keep going, nope. Now these two may seem okay, but give me just a moment and I will show you. A little test I keep doing with my short rows to make sure everything was okay, or as close to okay as I could get. And selvage edge. Return pass all the way back. Get that out of the way. All the way back. And we're going to stick a clip in here so it doesn't go anywhere. Alright, let's analyze how we did. Oop. Sorry about that. I like to stick my finger behind it to see how much of a gap. Now if you look really carefully, you can see the teensy weensy itty bittiest of holes right about there, and it's so small I am actually quite happy with how small it happens to be. Okay, same if I stick my finger over here. Over here it doesn't seem to gap at all, which is very nice. Now with these guys, if you look, you'll see two holes here that are definitely bigger than the other, and that's because I have them side by side, and I'm pushing just as hard as I did over here, and it seems that no matter what I do, I can't seem to get side by side to close up as nicely as it does when there's one stitch in between. So that's why I strongly suggest that you do not put them side by side. You leave at least one stitch in between your short rows. And that is all there is to doing the right edge wedge in simple Tunisian crochet. Next, we will cover how to do it in a textured stitch and all the joys that come with that. So I will see you next time for part 2, textured with Hook at the Ready.